Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity and welcome to another type of Will I Buy It. This time it's going to be all themed around the blue palette trend that has just been going around. I feel like I see nothing but new blue palettes coming out, so I figured I would sit down. It's been a while since I've done a Will I Buy It type of video, and I have been getting a couple questions about all these palettes coming out, so I figured I'd sit down, we talk about it a little bit. There's 4 new releases, and then I want to touch on a couple that I actually kind of discovered through my Instagram followers. So yeah, I figured we'll just talk all about blue palettes today and just address the blue trend. Okay, so first up, let's talk about the biggest one. I feel like that's been everywhere since it launched. It is the Jeffree Star Blue Blood palette. This one kind of came and hit the scene and just kind of like is trying to conquer the scene, I feel like. All the other palettes I'm going to be talking about have been teased or released way before this one, but now that Jeffree Star released his Blue Blood palette, like everyone else is supposedly copying him. It's been kind of ridiculous in social media just to see everyone accusing all these brands of copying Jeffree when I'm just like, they've been sneaking their palette for like a year and Jeffree just dropped his palette. He kept his pretty under wraps. But anyway, I figured I'd address that one first since it's the biggest and most famous blue palette right now. But looking at the palette, I think it is pretty. I am not totally crazy about it though. I feel like there's a lot of pastel blues and greens, which if you didn't know, I'm super into greens. I'm not sure how much I'm into pastel greens, but I love green eyeshadows. But blue eyeshadow is more so on that realm of I'm not comfortable wearing, and I feel like I don't look not the best, but like I'm not comfortable in it. I feel like I don't look like myself in it, to put it that way. Today I wanted to go with blue for this video, but I did add some green and yellow because I felt like that was more me. I don't know, whenever I just do all blue, especially kind of bright, vibrant blue, I just feel a little different. So anyway, I feel like while there is definitely an appeal to this palette and the color story, I think that the people who've been creating looks, it's totally gorgeous. I just don't think it's for me. There's a lot of very soft shades in there, a lot of very like pastelish type of tones, and while I definitely want to get a pastel palette and just really embrace pastels and see how I like it, I don't know, I feel like I already have the, what is it, Violet Voss Flamingo palette that I could do that with and kind of see. But overall, I mean, if you guys didn't know, I'm not really someone who wants to buy from Jeffree Star, so this was another one where I thought about it, but I was like, you know what? I'm still going to stand strong. It's not convincing me to buy from his brand at this time. And I just think when I take aside, even just taking aside his brand, I always like to look at a palette for the palette itself to see if I would like to buy it. And I just don't think I'm into the color story. I should probably scoot over so you guys can see the pictures. So anyway, yeah, it's this palette here. But yeah, I'm not going to buy it. It's just not me enough, and it's not the blue palette I want to like experiment and give blue a try. Even though I have other palettes with blue, you know what I mean. I definitely want to get a blue palette that is coming out on the market. I want to give blues a more of a chance. Amy Loves Makeup has done a couple blue looks that just have me drooling because they're so gorgeous and intense and beautiful. So I definitely want to give blues a try, but just something about his palette, just looking at the color story, I just don't think it's the one. So this one was an easy pass, not just because of the brand that I personally don't care to support, but because of the color story itself. It's just not my type of blue palette. Now moving over to the brand who kind of started the blue trend, at least I think they did. This is the Tarte palette that they teased back last year in April, and we're kind of like, hey, this is our palette. I'll go ahead and put on here, this is what they teased in April of 2018. And then they came out and was like, haha, that's April Fool's, we're not coming out with it. And everyone was so upset. I know for me, like, I was intrigued because of the green, honestly. When that palette came out, I wasn't too into the blues, but I thought the green was pretty. But anyway, a lot of people were upset because a lot of people thought it was pretty, and a lot of brands capitalized on that, especially like indie brands who sell single shadows like Sydney Grace and whatnot. They put together bundles to dupe that palette, and I think they did really well. I know Bad Habit came out with their own Bad Habit or Face Candy. Someone came out with their own version. It was called the Atlantis palette, kind of exactly duping it. Even though it wasn't even a real palette, they did dupe it. And so I feel like a lot of brands initially kind of capitalized on that, were able to give people blue palettes that they wanted, but I had a feeling that come 2019 we were going to see a lot of blue palettes coming out because brands saw that there was a market and there was a want and a desire for some blue-green themed palettes. So not saying that that's where, you know, all these brands, Jeffree, maybe that's where they got their idea. I have no idea. Maybe that's why he was like, hey, let me come out with a blue blood palette. But who knows? I mean, if I was a brand owner, I feel like that would be a very smart decision for me to make. But anyway, I feel like Tarte really slipped up on this. And anyway, so this year they decided to bring out another one, but for some reason they didn't want to keep it to the palette that they teased. I have no idea why. Everyone pretty much is confused why they did it, because they came out with this palette that has like half of the shadows and a lot of more similar shadows, and I'm just like, that's an easy pass for me now. Like, I wasn't super into the April Fool's palette because, like I said, I was really only into the greens, but even the smaller one, I'm like, yeah, that's a definite no. But even kind of ignoring the whole, they changed the entire look of the palette and took out so many shades, I feel like that cream shade on the top left corner could have been entirely omitted because they had such a large type of cream shade. Maybe that was a matte cream and then they had the highlighter, but I feel like they could have done one or the other. And then kind of the same story for the two darker type of blues. I think one is leaning more purple, but I feel like when you get that deep and dark, they kind of almost look like the same. And if you're going for a blue palette, they should have just kind of taken out the purple blue one and put something else in there. I don't know. I just saw this and just saw too many, not issues, but just reasons for me not to like the palette. There was only one green in there and it was just an easy no for me. I'm definitely curious to see some reviews because I have definitely heard a lot of people saying no, but I've seen a few people get it, so I'm curious to see reviews on it just to see how the quality is, because I know blue eyeshadow can be tricky to produce. But yeah, I feel like Tarte should get the credit for starting the blue trend in 2019, but as far as them capitalizing on the trend they started, they're not doing so good. Okay, so moving on to the two brands that have been teasing their releases way before Tarte or Jeffree Star released their, 2019 palettes. Let's move over to Certifeye and their Affinity 2 palette. Now, I can't even remember when, but they teased this a long time ago, like as a computer image. It wasn't the actual palette, and we're like, hey, what do we think about this palette? And so many people came back and was like, oh my gosh, that blue-green palette, absolutely stunning. I would totally get it. And so I think that started her thinking like, okay, I'm gonna start doing that. And so I think she's been working on it ever since. And like I said, I don't remember when, but I'm pretty sure it was like middle of last year. Maybe it was after the April Fool's joke that came out and they were like, okay, people want a blue-green palette, let's give it to them. But I think that Certifeye did such a good job, and it's not currently out as far as I know, but the pre-release has gone out and people have started to purchase it, though I don't think they've shipped out yet. And I went back and forth so hard on this palette. I really want it, but it is kind of pricey, and then because it's international shipping, I forget exactly where they're out of, UK, but anyway, the shipping is expensive as well, so I was just kind of like, is it going to be worth it? I don't know, it was just going to be very pricey. I don't remember, maybe $50, which isn't crazy because I do buy more expensive palettes here, but just having to pay that much in shipping really slowed me down. And then when the pre-orders actually launched, it was actually right around when we were putting our house on the market, when we were trying to buy a new house, because we're right now in transition. We're going to be moving this summer, so I just felt like I can't spend any money, like we're doing big things over here. I'm not going to buy an expensive palette, so I just really just held off on it. And I heard a lot of people say like, Certifeye does sales, so I was like, you know what, I don't need to get it when it first launches. Maybe I'll get it later when it goes on sale after it's been out a while, whatnot. So that's kind of where I came down on it. Like I said, I don't remember when. I'll put it on the screen when it actually launches, but at this time I am saying no to that. I'm going to pass on that, maybe later down the road. One thing I wish is that I know Blush Tribe and Certifeye, they're both, the owners are both sisters, and so they interact a lot and you see a lot of, cross promotion and whatnot. And one thing I wish they would do is that they would combine shipping for the two brands. I don't know if that's even possible, or not even combine shipping, but I wish that like Blush Tribe would sell Certifeye stuff and then Certifeye would sell Blush Tribe stuff, because I want a couple things from Blush Tribe and I want a couple things from Certifeye, but I don't want to spend like the shipping on the two separate orders, so I haven't bought from either. But I think that would be so cool if they could like, promote each other's stuff on each other's websites, and then that way you could combine shipping, because like I think their offices for each of the brands are literally the same building or the same room or something like that. I've seen stuff on Instagram, so throwing that out there if Certifeye or Blush Tribe ever watch this. But I think that would be totally awesome, because there's like one thing, I want to get those like chrome things from Blush Tribe. I forget, they're really cool. I'll put a picture here. I would love to get a couple of those, and then I would like to get the Certifeye palette, but because I don't want to spend separate shipping on each of them, I've said no to both of them at this point. So anyway, yeah, that is my decision for the Certifeye Affinity 2 palette. And then moving on to the last newest launch, this is from Menagerie Cosmetics, and it is the Whalesong palette. So Trend Mood shared it, and a lot of people were accusing Menagerie of copying Jeffree. Once again, like ever since Jeffree's launched his palette, like any blue palette that comes out, doesn't matter when it came out, like people don't care about facts, but everyone just accuses them of copying Jeffree. And I'm like, y'all, well, the Whalesong has been teased for a long time. Anyway, so she pre-launched it, and she actually had a bit of a drama, and I'm not going to get too into it because you can definitely look up some videos. A couple people have talked about it. I know Smokey talked about it, and then also Paulina's Beauty. I'll leave both of their videos down below if you want to kind of hear the scoop and get kind of two different sides to the story, or not two different sides, but two different opinions from two different ladies. But anyway, my kind of come down on that was just that I don't think she should have done it. I don't think she should have put that post out there to kind of guilt or make her followers feel bad. I definitely think that being an independent brand must have gotten so hard since the IG algorithm. Sorry, I'm feeding my son. that's the hand. But anyway, I know it must be so hard for them. I mean, you hear MUAs talking about how hard it is to get noticed because Instagram's algorithm just doesn't show them. But I mean, just imagine a brand who is trying to build something, trying to use social media to help get their name out there, and then the IG algorithm just makes it so none of their posts are seen. Like, that's hard. And so I can totally understand her getting that to that point where she was just frustrated because she had this gorgeous palette and she just couldn't bring it to fruition because IG is basically like hiding all her posts, I guess, from her, you know, followers and whatnot. But I do think that she shouldn't have posted it because that's something that she should have, I don't know, picked up the phone and told her best friend or something and not put that out for all of her customers to see, because I definitely think that wasn't very professional, because it gets into a weird relationship of like, she's talking about how her brand is having such a hard time because, you know, stuff is, basically it's like, it's not being bought, and that's kind of putting it on us as a customer to be like, hey, you're not buying my things. And then for me as a customer, I just feel like a little weird because now I'm like, well, am I buying her stuff because I feel bad for her or because I want to, like, I like her stuff? But anyway, I feel like I'm kind of rambling at this point. Basically, I don't think she should have shared it, but at the same time, she made a mistake and I'm not canceling the brand over. I don't think that's right. But let's just keep going forward and press on because this Whalesong palette is gorgeous. And that's another thing that I think people don't understand. People, I guess she got accused or has been accused of being a very expensive brand. Honestly though, $29, I feel like when the Feral palette first launched, I want to say it was $39 because I even looked back on my email and I got both the Dragon Child and the Feral palette for a bundle deal of like $70, and right now they're listed for $30, so that doesn't make sense that I would buy two palettes and pay more money as opposed to just buying the one. Like, I remember buying the bundle because it was cheaper than buying them separate, if that makes sense at all, and I got free shipping. But anyway, so I'm pretty sure she has reduced the price, but even at $30, I feel like that's not that expensive, and also the quality of her products, like the quality of the packaging alone is amazing. Like, that artwork is gorgeous. The heaviness, the weight, not heaviness, but like the weight, the quality of the packaging, the quality of the actual palette is gorgeous. Like, it's not cheaply done at all, and like the pans themselves are very large. The quality of the eyeshadow is very good. Like, her quality is phenomenal, and in my opinion, $29 for that is not bad. Okay, so my camera filled up and stopped recording. I don't know where it ended, but let's just keep on pushing. Basically, I was saying I don't feel like her palettes at $29 is that outrageous of a price. Like, yes, it's a bit higher price than drugstore, but when we're talking about indie makeup, like, I feel like Sydney Grace had his palette for like $45 or $49. And in my opinion, that's kind of a bit pricey, but right at $29, I feel like is a good price, especially for, like I said, the quality, the size of the palette, all that stuff. I don't think it's a bad price. But anyway, can I get back on track here? Yes, I am getting the Whalesong palette. I've already gotten the Whalesong palette. I pre-ordered it when she launched, and she actually did a special where it was $25, and I think it's gonna ship in like a month or two, and I'm so excited. It's full of a lot of blues, but there are some greens. There are some grungy, kind of mustardy greens. You know I'm eyeing those colors so hard. I love that she has a deep blue, but she also has like a deep green. I am so excited. When I first saw the artwork for the outside, I was like, I'm probably not gonna like that palette because it has so many blues. But I love that she took the color from around the whales and the water. She has those fish and stuff like that. I love the color story of here. There's still that lighter blue up there and whatnot, that kind of sea foamy colors, but I feel like it's a great mix of blue and green and more mustardy type of tones that I am so into. So this is totally my type of blue shadow, and yes, I already bought it and I'm eagerly awaiting its arrival. Still got a while to go, but I can't wait to have it, and I will definitely be doing a first impression when I get it. Okay, so those are all the new releases, but I did ask on my Instagram, I was like, what other blue themed palettes are out there? Like, are these the ones that are being talked about? Are they the only blue type of palettes out there? I just was curious to see how many there are, and I got a couple palette recommendations. One from Cara Beauty, who I have not heard of at all, but they have an ES22 Smoky Blue eyeshadow palette for $22.99, and this right here is a blue palette. Now this is a palette that I would never be interested in because that is like blue, 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 blue. I love the Menagerie Whalesong palette because it's got a mix of it, and even like the Jeffree Star palette has a nice mix of, yes, blues, but then also different other tones of colors. He has some pastels, some peaches, stuff like that. The Whalesongs has that mustard color, those like sea foamy colors, the deep blue, the deep green, those type of things. So I love that about it, and this is just all like different shades of blue. It's just kind of like a spectrum of blue. And for me, this is the easy no, but I figured I would share because I'd never heard of this brand. And if you really want a blue palette that's more affordable than like the Jeffree Star and you want just all blue, this is an option. Now this is not a new palette, but this is the Huda Beauty Obsessions palette in the Sapphire edition, and this is definitely a blue themed palette. I almost bought this and I still sometimes kind of debate on it and go back and forth because once again, I like that this has a lot of blue in it, but it has a lot of other colors. It has those greens, it has a very vibrant yellow, it has that steel color, something to give it a little bit of variety and different types of looks from, and I do like that. So when this was launched, I think it was like last year. I honestly don't remember, could have been before that, but I almost bought this so many times, and honestly this might be like the first blue palette to hit the scene. I can't remember. Let me know down below, when did the Obsessions palette, specifically the Sapphire one, launch? Was that before the April Fools or afterwards? But anyway, I have almost bought this so many times, but Huda Beauty is a little more pricey. This palette is more affordable, but the pan sizes are like really small and tiny, and I've heard mixed results on the quality of her shadows and like blending and stuff like that and pigmentation, so I've just always put it off, and I still have. And I don't know, maybe I would get it. The only time I'd ever get it if I could get it on a good sale, like maybe at the Sephora VIB sale or something like that. But every time that comes around, I've always just bought other things, or I'm trying new things, and that's a palette I just keep pushing off. And at this point, I feel like it's so old news, there's no point in me getting it because, you know, the makeup industry, everyone likes to see all the new stuff. So anyway, let me know if you would ever like to see that on my channel, if that's something you would like to hear my opinion on or whatnot. Maybe that would help sway me. But for now, no one's ever asked me. It's so old news, I feel like I've missed the boat. Also, Beautylish has a brand called Makeup Atelier. I feel like I butchered that. But anyway, they have this palette and it retails for $35 with 5 different shades of blue. That's another one that's like, that's a nice little blue palette. It's nothing I would ever get into because once again, there's no variation of the colors to get different types of looks with the blue, like with blue accents kind of thing. This, I feel like any look you get is just gonna be like one of those monochromatic type of blue looks, and I'm not super huge into them. I kind of like what I did today. I have the green and the yellow with the blue, but that's definitely a pretty palette. I figured I would shout it out there. I don't know when it was released, this or the Cara Beauty, but those were 2 recommendations that I got on my Instagram, and I was like, huh, I've never heard of these before, and I figured I would share it in this all about blue eyeshadow palette will I buy it video. So there you have it. That is, as far as I know, all the blue themed palettes that are out on the market today and my thoughts on them and if I will buy them or not. As you can see, I pretty much said no to all of them except the Whalesong palette because there's those mustardy, grungy tones in there that I am so excited about, and I do want to try some blue palettes. I feel like that's a safe one for me to go to. Certifeye, I'm definitely tempted, but I'm just saying no for right now. Those greens look pretty, but I like the grungy greens and the Whalesong more than the neon greens and the Certifeye. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it and found this somewhat interesting and was just curious to hear my thoughts. I feel like I've been getting a lot of questions about these blue themed palettes, and I figured I would just sit down and give a video sharing all my thoughts on the blue themed palettes. But anyway, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.